I'm very keen to dive into that first segment of the Scrappy Breakdown. I would love to know, what would you say is your most powerful or impactful marketing system?
Okay, so not being a trained marketer or anything like that, I hate cold calling. So for me, there's nothing worse than picking up the phone. Hi, you don't know me, but my name's Vanessa and I want to train your recruiting teams, etc., etc. Like, what a waste of time. Like, no one's got time for that. So for me, what I decided to do was my marketing was going to be, or my favorite marketing system was just going to be me being me. So by that, I mean putting myself out there to rather show people what I can do, and then they will hopefully use my services. So two things. My favorite marketing system is myself, but it's also me being consistent. So let's call it my consistent self is my favorite marketing system, because it's not something that you can decide that you're going to do full out for a week and you're going to, get everything right and you're going to post on all of your platforms and all of your channels, but then you get busy and you forget about it. Marketing is something that has to be consistent. People need to know where you're going to turn up and where they can find you. And even when you get busy, you have to keep it up, because when you get quiet, then it's often too late to pick it up again and say, okay, now where's my next gig? I can't put a tick to it. I can't say it's a software. It's literally just being consistently yourself. And probably a caveat to that would be, just like Barney, the big purple dinosaur, sharing is caring. And I think that I've got, through being consistently me, which I like to think is a kind, generous person, is a consistently sharing things with people that is just enough to get them interested to say, sure, that sounds interesting. Or for me to be that top of mind person when they need to pay for someone to teach them something. Hold on, for me, because it's recruiters and they're all over LinkedIn, it's like, here's that woman on LinkedIn who's always adding value to recruiters. And like at the moment, sharing things about how AI can work in recruitment. That's the person I must speak to.
What does consistency look like to you, and how do you maintain that?
Okay. So consistency to me is when people know where to find you. So when people can anticipate where you're going to turn up, where can they get in touch with you? And that again for me is LinkedIn, because my target audience is recruiters. LinkedIn's full of recruiters. I'm sure all of you get hit up by recruiters all the time on LinkedIn, so that's where mine is. When I'm working, so I think we do need to have a digital detox. We do need to have a break. I'm well known for being a big advocate of doing that and going on holiday, and I often disappear off into the bush with my camera, and then I'm not going to be doing it, but I am there enough. And I think the trick to it is actually making it a non-negotiable habit. So let's talk about a habit. It takes 40 days, allegedly, to build a habit. And I literally am in the habit of 3 times a week, I post on LinkedIn, sometimes 4 times. And for me, it's just part of my DNA. I know it's my marketing, and yes, I don't always feel like posting on LinkedIn. I don't always feel like interacting with the comments, but if it means I don't have to cold call, I'm going to do it. Because for me, I don't want to have to cold call. I don't want to get email drip feed campaigns into people that might want to buy my training. That's a pain. I'd rather just post, share good quality content, and then hope that people approach me. And I must say, Candice, like, no word of a lie, 6 years of running my own business, I still haven't ever gone out to look for business. Every single job that I've done has been inbound, which I put down to that consistency and me building my brand.
I mean, your network is your net worth. I 100%, the best clients I've ever got, the coolest projects have always been through me meeting someone at an event. It's like something in person, or working with someone in a volunteer thing, or like really just showing up and meeting people and like really engaging with them in a way that shows them I can add value, because that walks ahead of you to some extent and like speaks for you when you're not in the room and makes your case for you,
Absolutely. And that is your personal brand. Your personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So why not use that personal brand to do your marketing for you?
And how do you decide what to post? I think a lot of people also know, like, do you have like a content strategy, or, do you just feel?
Basically, before I sit down at my desk in the morning, and I mean, the trick is when you're posting, you want to be posting at a time of day where on LinkedIn, especially, where people have got the whole day to interact with your posts and those kind of things. So before I even sit down, I know what I'm going to post. So my desktop, I'd be embarrassed to share it with you now. It's actually just full of photos from my last trip, because each photo is like, I can do a LinkedIn post about that. I can, so that's what I'm going to be sharing. So that's a lot of my posts. Like the one I shared today was all about all the odd tea bags I found as I was unpacking my bags for my travels. And then there was another bag of tea. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've got a problem here. There's an addiction happening. My routine is I wake up, I try and walk for an hour every morning before I start work. Beautiful. I live in Plett. So, it's fantastic to walk around the beach every morning for an hour. And now get my head around, okay, what am I going to post? I actually normally know the day before what I'm going to post. I mean, I'll take it old school. I still have Post-its on my desk, And if I think of something when I'm in conversations, when I will make a good LinkedIn post, I write it down. And then to be honest with you, I know we're not onto the systems yet, but AI is helping me to write a lot of my posts a lot more quickly. A lot of people just sit back and say, oh, I don't know what to post on LinkedIn. I don't know anything. How am I going to add value, et cetera, et cetera. Where you actually have got so many touch points with people and work during the day, and you've got so much content to post. You just don't think that your content is worthy of others. But what you need to realize is that not everyone knows what you know. I mean, another thing is, and I was on a coaching call with someone in Ireland earlier today, was, what value can I add? What about the backlash if I post? I'm like, who's sitting in the wings waiting to give you gears if you post something on LinkedIn? Like, get over yourself. Stop using it as an excuse of, I don't know what to post or what are people going to say. Well, if it's your own opinions, what are they going to say? Those opinions are your opinions. Just don't be overly controversial.
100%. If I feel like your body knows as soon as you're about to post something that
exactly.
Your body will respond. Exactly. Like your body will respond with fire. If you find yourself typing like this, you probably shouldn't post it.
Yeah, typing in anger.
Exactly. I feel like a Scrappy system is a post-it note. That is like the scrappiest of systems, and taking it back to analog. Do you ever find like you need a format, or you write a certain way, or do you just share about like your experience of things? I'm trying to understand like the storytelling, how you tell your stories a little.
People enjoy stories. It's the way, especially in Africa. I mean, it's all of our traditions are built on storytelling. And I think that if you can convey a story with a good point or a good moral of the story, then you're going to get greater impact. So unashamedly, I have trained my own GPT to write like me, to sound like me. And when it creates LinkedIn posts, it creates them almost like not a story, but it follows a thread. And I think that that's important, is that, if you can train the tools to assist you, because like I have the ADD, so my brain thinks quicker than what I can type. And instead of taking maybe 10 minutes to write a LinkedIn post and post it, my AI, if I can just give it the breakdown, I can maybe get it up and post it in 3 minutes. So that's 7 minutes, which doesn't sound like a lot, but you add up all of those 7 minutes that I get by having my GPTs that do things for me. I'm saving a lot of time during the day. And I think that that's important. And the fact that it still sounds like me is important. You need to have that authenticity. I always read through them. I always, update them if I need to, or make any changes. Most of them I make changes to be honest. It's still not 100% perfect. But it's a lot quicker than me sitting here and like typing.
I'm a dictation person myself.
Exactly. Or you can talk to your GPT, which I also do if I'm not on a call at the time.
How did you train your GPT? Like, has it taken you a long time to do?
No, definitely not. And I don't code. You don't need to learn how to code. All you've got to do is to pay for your OpenAI subscription, which is the princely sum of $20. So even to us South Africans, it's not that expensive. It's about what? 380 Rand or something like that. And then it gives you the ability to build your own GPTs, which you can train. And that's a continuous thing that as the GPT gets more powerful and gets better, you can train it. You can build different GPTs. So I've got one that, writes blog posts for me. And, I've got one that, puts together my LinkedIn newsletter and those kind of things. So it just, it's all about still my thoughts. I'm still feeding what it must write about, but it just has the ability to write it like me. If you're using the free GPTs, you're doing probably a hell of a lot more editing than what I'm doing when I'm feeding it through a GPT that I've trained.
And at the same time, it's like still sticking to that like very core system of allowing you to be your consistent self and show up consistently as yourself online. I also
Yes.
use a GPT, and I think a lot of people are scared because they think it's going to be quite a lot of setup and a lot of maintenance and a lot of work. Did
No,
it
it's
take
not.
you like days to build or?
Oh God, no. So I run consulting. Like I'm doing two trainings today. One to a lady in the States, one to a lady in Ireland, and literally within that hour, I taught them how to build their own GPT. So they've got to go away and they've got to go and do more work on it, and they've got to go and feed it more information and do a couple of things.
You did mention that like maybe your system doesn't have tech, but I love how it maybe is tech enabled, this Scrappy like system of yours. And before we move on to the next segment, I'd really like to know, like, being able to show up consistently in this way, what are like the tangible results that you can say, like, that comes from me investing in my personal brand consistently?
Sure. So many examples. Like the person that I trained this morning in Ireland was actually in one of my in-person training sessions we worked out 6 years ago. So she remembered me from 6 years ago because she's like, you did this great trading session. You blew us all away. Then I see you all over LinkedIn. I see your career taking off over the last 6 years. So when I realized I needed help, you were the first person that kind of sprung to mind. When I went to Philadelphia now, I presented for the same organization in Spain last year. But the presentation I did in the UK, I had never met anyone who worked for that organization. They literally contacted me through me having an opinion, posting more on LinkedIn. I did a couple of online training and webinars for them. The team members enjoyed it. They realized that actually we could bring her over as a speaker. It was a bit of a no-brainer. And that was another example of, my brand kind of leading the way. There's just been so many. I mean, winning work. I had a massive client here in South Africa 3 years ago who's now changed companies to an international company, is in Dubai. I've got a call with them next week because she knows the impact I had on her team 3 years ago. We've kept in contact on LinkedIn, liking each other's posts or whatever. And now she's contacted me again and said, I've moved. I've got a new team for you to train. So I think it's the whole analogy of being the whole tip of tongue, top of mind. That's people think of you first, which is what you want. That's my continuous marketing. Like a lot of people, especially in the recruitment industry, go on and like, I've got a database of like 5,000 people. And I'm like, who cares? Like, if you're not active and you're not keeping in touch with those 5,000 people, do you know if they even made it through COVID? But if you're active somewhere, like you, building your communities and people know that you're around and you're having conversations all the time, I think that that's a complete win.
It makes you very accessible when you're
Yeah.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And if you had to start over, like if you had to tell yourself like at the beginning, like how to spend your time, how do you choose what to do? Do you go on LinkedIn? Do you go talk at events? Like how do you choose your channel, if you will?
So it's actually a really interesting analogy because for my last 10 years of when I was employed, I was the head of talent acquisition for an IT company. And I didn't accept any invitation to connect with any recruiter on LinkedIn because we didn't use recruiters. We had an internal team that I headed up that did all the recruitment for the company. Then when I went and launched my own business and I wanted to train recruiters, now I had to eat humble pie and now I had to go and connect with a whole lot of recruiters on LinkedIn. So it probably wasn't the best thing, but I think the one thing, so since I started in the recruitment industry, like I remember they actually banned Facebook in our office because you couldn't have Facebook because you were going to mess around and you weren't going to work. Then I made my first placement or someone on Facebook of who I had studied with, and then I managed to get them a job, etc. Then it was suddenly allowed. And I think from that moment, so we're probably going back, I'd say 18 years ago, I never minded who I connected with. I mean, you're allowed 5,000 connections on Facebook, 30,000 on LinkedIn. I mean, the only people I didn't connect with on LinkedIn are like the oil and gas workers in the Middle East. I mean, no offense, but I mean, that was never my kind of thing. But I'm now almost at my 30,000 on LinkedIn because I just kind of knew it was about SaaS and it was about having the right network. And to answer your question about where do you build your network, I think it's got to be where your target network are spending their time. Like for me, LinkedIn makes complete sense because that's where all the recruiters are. But when I train recruiters that are tech recruiters that are trying to hire software developers or software engineers, I'm like, why are you wasting your time on LinkedIn? They're not there. They're on GitHub. They're on Stack Overflow. They're on Dev. Buy a ticket to DevConf. Go and talk to people there. It's that kind of approach because it doesn't work for everyone. It's about finding where it is. And this is what I believe very strongly is the future of recruitment and the strength of brands, especially in a world of AI, where no one knows what's real, what's not, what's a chatbot, what isn't, is to build community. So that's why I think you and I always connect, is that I realize the value of community from a recruiting perspective, and think that that is what more people should actually be focusing on. So if you don't have a platform to find people, create your own circle, heartbeat, whatever it is, and you get your people to join you, your target.
It makes a lot of sense because it can be very lonely if you're like a solopreneur working alone. But I think personally that the value of connection is going to go up. And I think there's a difference between connection and like a verified connection. And a verified connection is going to be, I've worked with Vanessa multiple times. I can confirm she's a human A. She speaks truth and the things that she says adds value. Like I can confirm that. And I think those kinds of connections, like LinkedIn, to some extent, like you can't really validate those connections. Like it's distribution. But knowing, and I think that's the difference between like getting a very big network and a very like close community like you have built, where people will just refer and come back to you again and again,
Absolutely. And so I also have, my LinkedIn network. I have a Facebook group of 5,500 people, which is, recruiters all over the world, that I've been growing as a community now for about 7 years. So that's a thriving community. That's called the Talent Hunters on Facebook. So I think it's giving people the options too. Sure, you want to have one. And I think also, I know you say being a solopreneur can be lonely. It can be, but it's a great way to find lots of other solopreneurs to collaborate with them. And I do that a lot. So there's key solopreneurs out there, also probably coaches or trainers in the recruitment space, but do different things that I'm always happy to, hand work to, which I think is also a nice way to kind of not feel so isolated.
Yeah. And also knowing that sometimes someone might hand it back to you at a time when it's tough.
And they normally do. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I think that is such a brilliant way to wrap up the Scrappy Breakdown segment of tonight's talk.